Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on the effects of video self-evaluation on skill acquisition with yoga postures. In our group, we have Emery, myself, Jenna, Elizabeth, Taylor, and Nick. Next, Taylor's going to talk about the literature review for our presentation. Video modeling recorded video of an individual who only sees themselves performing the specified target behavior at mastery level without error or off-task behaviors. Video self-evaluation provides an opportunity for individuals to assess their own behavior at a later time and serve as their own source of feedback. Nick's going to discuss the article he found.
In 2017, English et al. Set out to examine the effectiveness of video modeling with video feedback intervention to teach vocational gardening skills to adults with autism spectrum disorder. They found that video modeling and video feedback increased the skill acquisition of 2 of the 3 participants and concluded that video monitoring and video feedback could be an effective and socially acceptable way for teaching vocational skills.
Thank you. Next article we're going to talk about is the effects of video tape feedback package on the peer interactions of children with serious behavioral and emotional challenges. In this study, 5 male participants ranging from ages 11 to 13 who exhibited behavioral challenges and difficulties with peer relations were involved in a study to evaluate video feedback and social interactions. Video feedback resulted in decreased undesirable interactions and remained at low phases for the intervention for all students. The frequency of desirable peer interactions also showed an increased trend.
Video modeling may also be used as an intervention to facilitate a wide variety of skill acquisitions for learners with ASD. So not only do they use video modeling to gain social skills and learn new behaviors and tasks such as washing dishes and that kind of thing, but video modeling has been shown to be able to be used in a wide variety of settings over a wide variety of age groups. So everything from learning to interact with peers to doing yoga the right way, video modeling has been shown to be effective and increase behavior.
Next, we're going to talk about the original study. The original study that we're replicating is performed by Downs and colleagues in 2015. It's titled The Effects of Video Self-Evaluation on Skill Acquisition with Yoga Postures. Participants included 2 university students, Bill, age 21, and Tom, age 24. The participants responded to a flyer that described the study. They were interested in learning yoga poses and did not have prior experience in yoga. They also did not have any injuries. The setting took place in a fitness lab at the physical education department on the university campus. The materials included 1 video camera, a laptop, and yoga mats for participants' use. The target behaviors included 3 yoga poses: Vriksasana, which we will use the name tree pose for this presentation, Virabhadrasana, which we will use the name warrior pose 2, and Savasana. We will use the name downward facing dog. The poses were recorded for participants to watch. All poses were required to be held for at least 30 seconds and were calculated by a task analysis as correct or incorrect out of the total set. IOA was taken throughout 2 independent observers who recorded 33% of the sessions. The IOA was calculated by dividing the number of agreements by the number of behaviors for baseline and intervention. The average range of IOA was between 86 and 100%. The study was a multiple baseline design across behaviors for each participant. The intervention of video self-evaluation included participants immediately viewing their poses and scoring with a task analysis. Limitations included the treatment integrity was low because the participants had to be retrained, and that the video self-evaluation may be more successful with a coach or researcher to evaluate the quality of self-evaluation and retraining if needed. The intervention participants were recorded for maintenance at 5 weeks following the removal of the intervention, and the results of the video self-evaluation was a substantial increase in the correct steps.
The participants that we used for our study were 4 female and 1 male graduate student who do not currently have any injuries and do not frequently practice yoga. Their age range is between 23 and 25 years of age.
The setting for this replication study could be done in any environment deemed calm or peaceful by each participant. So some of us used living rooms, some of us did shot our videos in bedrooms. You could do it on a porch, just any environment that you felt comfortable doing it in. And depending on resources available, the participants were allowed to either utilize a yoga mat to practice their yoga poses, or they could even just do it on a carpeted floor.
The materials that were needed were a cell phone video camera, a carpeted area or a yoga mat, task analysis for each pose, the intervention videos, and the open space to complete the poses in. Participants also needed internet access to share the videos amongst each other. In the next couple of slides, I will share the task analysis for each of the poses with you. The task analysis were created based off the video that is attached next to it on the screen. There are 24 steps in this first task analysis. Participants completed the pose, and then the other participant that they were matched with went through the task analysis and completed it. We calculated all of our values based on each of the individual task analysis. So the next 3 slides are the additional task analyses. And then we're moving on to Taylor with the target behaviors.
The target behaviors were the 3 poses we performed during the study. These included the tree pose, which is a balancing pose in yoga in which one stands on one leg with arms raised. The warrior 2 pose, which is a stretch pose in which one stands with legs and arms spread apart. And lastly, the downward facing dog, which is a stretch pose in which one stands on the hands and feet. Next, Nick will talk about our baseline.
For our baseline, we found a professional yoga instructor video doing all 3 of the poses. And we watched that video, and then we each recorded a video of ourselves attempting that pose after the first initial watch of that professional yoga instructor. We then paired off into teams and sent those videos off to our partner, who then scored it based off of the task analysis. And for baseline too, we didn't watch the videos of ourselves afterward. We just watched the video of the professional yoga instructor. And for the baseline, it was broken into 3 baselines across the poses. So the first baseline we did was for the down dog pose, just for 3 sessions, and then for warrior 2 for 6 sessions, and then for tree pose for 9 sessions. Now we're going to go back to Jenna to talk about the intervention.
For our intervention, we performed a session for each yoga pose once per meeting, and each pose was held for 30 seconds. Each yoga pose was graded with the task analysis that Emery just showed us. In the study, we're replicating the participants used a fitness center. However, for the convenience of our group, we perform the intervention in our homes. 1 session will be performed per meeting, and 3 meetings will occur per week. Each participant will self-record their session of each pose, and immediately after watching these recordings, and score using this task analysis. The video feedback phase will be implemented if only a minor level improvement is made. In the original study, a researcher performed this by giving feedback for each step in the task analysis, and then the participant practiced the pose again. Our group will provide feedback for anyone who shows minimal improvement by going through each step of the task analysis. Here's an example of what our self-recorded videos looked like. This video is fast-forwarded for time purposes. Next, Elizabeth will talk about our IOA.
So during each phase, all participants measured their IOA by taking video clips of themselves performing the 4 yoga poses 3 times a week. Each participant would then send each clip that they videoed that day to their partner, and everyone went round robin style for the feedback intervention phase. So, for example, Taylor would video her clips and send them to Emery so that she could calculate her IOA. Emery to Nick, Nick to Elizabeth, Elizabeth to Jenna, and Jenna to Taylor. And that was the pattern that we used for this particular study replication. Doing this assured that each person would have IOA data collected on themselves, and they were also able to practice collecting IOA data on someone else. IOA was calculated using total count IOA. The formula for that is smaller frequency count divided by the larger count and then multiplied by 100 to find the IOA percentage. So in the bottom of this PowerPoint slide, you can see examples of the way that we calculated the IOA. So I would send Nick's video to Taylor after I calculated Nick's video, then she would calculate Nick's video, and therefore we would find the inter-observer agreement by dividing our numbers and then multiplying by 100. And that's the way we did it for each session recorded throughout the study.
Treatment fidelity was assessed and measured using data collected from the task analysis. So we added additional steps onto the task analysis to ensure that everyone was implementing the intervention as planned. A task analysis checklist was created and utilized across all participants in the study to measure the accuracy of implementation of each yoga pose. Treatment fidelity was measured by dividing the number of correct steps completed by the total number of steps in the task analysis. In the original study, researchers retrained the participants to use the task analysis while watching the videos if treatment integrity fell below 80%. Retraining was not needed for this study as treatment fidelity remained at 100% for all participants throughout our study. Next, Emery will start talking about the data review.
Thanks, Taylor. I have Taylor's data here. I collected the data on all of Taylor's videos that she sent me. If you look at the graphs, we have all of the data is in an increasing trend, except for the very first one. Her third data point for downward dog had 1 point decrease from the previous one. So that's the only decreasing trend that I recorded from Taylor's data. The results for Taylor showed that there was an 8% increase for downward dog, 2% increase, overall increase for the warrior pose left side, a 6% increase for warrior pose right size, and we are not to the intervention phase or the tree pose yet.
So I collected Nick's data, and as Taylor mentioned, or as Emery mentioned for Taylor's data, Nick also had an increase over all the poses as well. So for the Vasasana or the tree pose, he had a 24% increase from baseline to intervention. And then for the left side, he had a 17% increase and a 14% increase for the right side. And while that may not seem like a lot, we only were up to one of our intervention phases for data collection so far because we have 1 week left to go. So he also had a positive increase in trend over the last 3 weeks in collecting data for his yoga poses.
I collected data on Emory, and as everybody else too, you can see mostly increasing trends throughout all the poses. We have one small decrease in the first pose, but overall it's all increasing. If you look to the table, you can see that for the down dog pose, she had an increase in 23% in intervention. For the left side of Warrior 2, 19%, and then the right side, 20%. And again, we're not quite yet to the intervention phase for the tree pose.
I collected data on Elizabeth. Elizabeth showed a 53% increase for the downward dog facing pose, a 33% increase for the Warrior 2 left pose, a 36% increase for Warrior 2 right side. And because we did not reach the intervention phase for the tree pose, we could not calculate the results yet. But she also showed a pretty significant increase in trend line.
And I collected the data on Jenna's. And for the downward facing dog, there was an increase of 52%. The Warrior 2 pose for the left side, there was actually a decrease of 3% from the baseline data to the intervention. The Warrior 2 right pose had an increase in 4%. And since we did not make it to the tree pose, that data could not be fully calculated.
So the results were already touched on for each individual participant, but as a group result section, we have a total average of 30% increase. So a positive trend for all 4 of the poses. This table breaks down the average total per participant, which we already did.
And as far as limitations for this study that we conducted, there are a few. So for the first one, falsifying information. So in the nature that we are both the researchers and participants, that does give us a potential to not tell the whole truth about the information we presented, which I guarantee we did not, but it is a limitation. We also could only video conference, seeing as we're all states away. So there was a limitation with that because we could have made a bit more headway if we were able to meet in person. We also conducted or videotaped ourselves doing our poses at different times in the day, some of us before work, some of us after work, some of us before bed. So that could have had an effect on the data we collected. Also, none of us are trained yoga professionals, nor do we have access to trained yoga professionals. So the feedback that we were given was solely based on the yoga professional video that we used in the initial baseline. So we could not receive feedback from a trained professional. And the last limitation is that due to the time constraints of this study, that we are going to be unable to reach a maintenance phase in this study.
Thank you, everyone.